influences that happen in early childhood as well. So just to the last part of my presentation, I want to talk about some findings from the study called the CHARGE study, which stands for Childhood Autism Risk from Genes and Environment. This is a study we've been doing in Northern California. Our Mind Institute is located in Sacramento, and where the capital is, and it sort of covers an area in northern central California in terms of where our study is being conducted and who the people are. Air pollution is one of the things that we have looked at. We found that children whose mother lived within 0.2 of a mile of a freeway, which is where you get the most exposure to vehicle exhaust coming out of the tailpipe, were at higher risk, 90% greater risk for developing autism than children who live further away. This has now been replicated in other studies, and it's been beginning to be maybe the factor we have some of the most data about. And just as a side, part of the reason why we have many studies is it's actually possible to do a not super expensive study on air pollution because the US EPA has all this monitoring going on all around the country. You can get that data, you can link it to where people live and get estimates of what their exposures are without having to go back and try and reconstruct things. The data are already there. Unfortunately, for many other factors, that's not so easy to do. There's no database with what mothers were eating and what supplements they've been taking throughout the pregnancy. So we looked at maternal nutrition, and this slide shows that the good news is that most women are taking the prenatal supplements, and you can see from month 2 to about 9, virtually everybody, close to or over 90% of mothers are taking those prenatal supplements. The problem is that the real protection, and this goes not only for neural tube defects, which is why we actually tell women to take these supplements, and those rates have been going down, but also it turns out that the children whose mothers took the supplements are at 40% lower risk of developing autism, and that's represented in the -3, -2, -1, and 1, the 3 months before conception and the first month of pregnancy. That's when the protection is. And so I have this OR, odds ratio of 0.6. 1 would be that there's no difference between those who go on to develop autism or not, and 0.6 is 40% fewer of the case mothers who have taken those prenatal supplements. So this is an area where we can intervene. That finding actually has also been replicated, and there's other information that would suggest nutrition is important. For example, a very short inter-pregnancy interval. Women who might have had their second child within a year or 2 years are actually also at higher risk. An interval of more than 3 years, it seems to be optimal in terms of reducing the risk of autism, probably because it depletes the woman's body to be pregnant. There's a lot of energy, nutrients, and immunologic surveillance that is covering not just the mother, but the fetus. And it may take that mother a while to really replenish her reserves. So I'll just move on to the next slide. The last example I want to talk about is acute infection. And we found that children whose mothers had a fever during pregnancy and did not treat that fever were also at 2.5 times the risk for developing autism. So the women who had a fever and took something for it, not at higher risk. It was a little bit higher, might have been within the realm of statistical chance, but 2.5 times was not. That was significant. And again, I think this ties back to this idea of inflammation, maternal immunology that may play a role in child development. So things can go awry in all kinds of different ways, and what we're really interested in is identifying these modifiable factors where we can actually intervene and we can prevent autism. And I think that we're really getting to that point. We're getting to the point where we have data now. It's not just hypothetical, oh, it must be the environment because it's not genetics. We actually now have some examples, the nutrition example, air pollution, pesticides, we have a growing body of evidence. And I think that in the next 5 to 10 years, we could really start to see this increase the actual investment in environmental research has been so low compared to what's being put into the genetics that that has really held us back. So so there is, in fact, even with the meager amount that's gone into environment, we've actually had a pretty big return, and we've learned more in the last 4 years than we learned in the previous 4 decades. And where that has come from, it's been about $4 million annually that NIH has allocated for environmental health research, environmental research on autism. And that's in comparison to something in the order of about 50 to 80 million that's been going for genes. So it's a bit of an imbalance, I think. And we'd like to see it, at least parity. You could say they had 10 years at this level, maybe you should switch it. But in any case, that's really where we need to be directing the NIH to use its funding. I also just want to comment that because of the sequestration, even that $4 million was not allocated yet in the 2013 year. Probably about half of that has been, and a lot of money for new projects in particular has been held back. The charge study has been limping along. We're waiting to see if we're going to get the funding, but we haven't gotten it yet. So we're sort of in an in-between state, and that's not good when research has to go through these cycles. You really need to have that constant flow to be able to keep the study going. This is not work of just me. There are many, many collaborators and investigators who contributed. Additionally, we thank the families who take a lot of time and energy. Their lives are often extremely stressful, and they come and participate in these studies. And then the final word is that investing in environmental research on autism is really, it's a gift to children. It's a way in which we can ensure that they lead healthy, productive lives, that they can have satisfying social relationships, engaging with other people, and that they can have the hope of